Hi, my name's Dan Keane from Spitfire Audio. Quite often, we end up gravitating towards big orchestras, huge sections, loads of players, and this is great for delivering the power we need to really break through a mix. You feel the emotional pull of all of those instruments playing together. But every now and again, it is nice to scale things back. And with smaller ensembles, I don't know about you, but I feel a little bit closer to the players. I can hear the detail of each player playing. With traditional kind of wind and brass libraries, we're generally given a choice. I could choose to have this line played by 6 trumpets if I wanted to. Sounds very, very powerful. You can really hear the sound of the hall at Air Studios. But with one player, I think you'll agree that it feels a little bit more defined. Now, interestingly, it's exactly the same microphone signals, just the tree mics above the conductor's podium. And I find, at least with the trumpet solo, that I can hear the vibrato, I can maybe hear the bite of a note, the attack is a little bit more defined than I would have if I had a full section of 6 trumpets. Going back to the full orchestra, I think people don't often think about how many string players they might want to use in a production. Often more must equal better somehow. But in this video, I want to show you how chamber strings can bring an unparalleled focus to your music. So I've written a demo, which I'm going to play to you first, and then we're going to go a little bit more in depth. I hope you can hear how much fun I've had writing this piece. People often ask me how long it takes to write something like this. So as some of you will know, I often use piano sketches. So I'll take an electric piano or something and I'll kind of play the parts in on the piano. And this took me about an hour and a half to 2 hours to actually sketch up. But obviously it takes quite a lot longer than that to fully orchestrate everything, finding the right textures, palettes of sound and things like that. And it does work fully as a chamber strings only piece, but I just wanted to add a little bit more drama, and these solo brass elements and the Spitfire percussion worked really well in that direction. As you can hear, the chamber strings was recorded in the hall at Air Studios, which is the same recording environment as the symphonic brass, woodwinds, and actually the symphonic strings as well, in addition to the Spitfire percussion. And so as a collection, it works really, really well together. And as you can hear, the two libraries, the brass and the strings, sound really lovely together. But beyond the kind of magic that was recorded on the day, what is it about chamber strings that just sounds so great? It's one of my favourite libraries. I believe it's Christian's and also a Spitfire favourite as well. Well, for me, I think it's Something to do with the ensemble size. 4 first violins, 3 seconds, violas, cello, and basses. So it's got a slightly more kind of bass-leaning sound, which I think works particularly well in this kind of context because you get the resonance needed to fill the hall, and you do get it, and that's enough to compete with the bigger ensemble libraries. But also, it remains quite light. It's just a 16-piece ensemble. The other thing is it has a slightly narrower stereo image, in my opinion. So if I bring up the chamber strings violins, this is how it sounds. If I now take the symphonic strings, you can hear that it's much, much wider. This is, again, using exactly the same microphone signals. The reason for this, I think, is because there's a shorter distance between the front and the back sections, so you don't get quite as much reflections coming from the very back. The other thing is that there's far less decay when you're using fewer players, less noise to release in the room. I might be wrong there, but I believe that that's why this feels a little bit more agile. If I just play the opening of this piece, just the violins 1, 2, and the violas. It's a beautiful sound. If I just show you the microphones I'm using here, I'm using the professional edition of Chamber Strings, so this is the stereo microphone signal, and I just love these. These are kind of stereo stage microphones that just give that little bit more kind of intimate, close detail on the sound. The other thing that I really love about Chamber Strings is that they've got muted legato, something that you rarely see these days in libraries, but I really love these violin 2 and viola lines. So just to give you a little bit of context, this is the rest of the strings. So even when muted, you can hear the detail of the players. Same goes for the tremolo as well. We can hear the detail of each performer individually playing their notes there, which sounds really, really lovely. If I just go further on here, I mentioned about them being particularly agile. If I play this part here. I decided to duplicate the whole orchestra using the symphony orchestra. And if I just compare the two, this isn't really a comparison video, but I think it's quite interesting to hear the two side by side. So if I play this part here, the same section. You can hear a lot more of the room, which is lovely when you've got those big soaring lines, but I think you'll find that the chamber strings just has a little bit more focus to it. I just feel that much closer to the players. And again, this isn't a negative kind of comparison one against the other, because you could use the SSO underneath to kind of give it the bed of sound. In fact, let's just try that. If I were to take this part here and I'll use a gain plugin because I've got a little bit of automation, and I'll just fade this in from nothing, and you can hear the effect that the SSO has on the chamber strings. I don't know about you, but with the chambers, I just feel like they're right in front of me and I can kind of see all of them in my peripheral vision. As we move into this next section, I really wanted to create a bit more of a timbral shift to kind of bring out the muted sound. And if I just play from this section, you can hear how the brass really complements this. Now, I'm particularly inspired by the likes of Debussy and the way that he writes these beautiful kind of coloured sections. Lots of extensions within his music that I steal every now and again. As you can hear, a really, really wide dynamic range. In these sharp shorts that I had, I was using a combination of the Coleños with the close ribbon microphones and the short consordino. So you get a mixture of that really biting attack, but also that nice soft kind of sustained sound. And as you can see, I've turned up the tightness to an almost unrealistic level, but I think you'll agree that contextually it feels that much tighter, which is what I wanted. In the rest of the ensemble, you can see that I'm using a combination of the legatos and the legato consordinos. In fact, if I play these two cello lines, again, you have that beautiful blend between the two sounds. And the same can be said for the trumpets and the horns, to be honest. Really, really vibrant, but as they're just single players, you can hear the pronunciation of each of those notes really, really clearly. The horn line here is helping to bring out the kind of percussive nature that I wanted with these chords. I wanted it to feel kind of off the beat to get that slight kind of hemiola effect. And then I used a little bit of automation here to just bring down the sound of the room so it really came down to nothing and brought out this little woodblock line I had. Again, they're simple little things, but they do just help to add little 1% here and there. So with this part, I wanted to test the chamber strings. I wanted to see what would happen if I really tried to make these as legato as possible. These legato transitions are just absolutely insane. Fantastic programming by Andy Blaney, and they just sound so realistic. Sort of wanted to bring out the drama element, try and make something that sounds a little bit like a synth. It's really just the pits and the staccatos together. So that's on that side, and then I've got the basses as well. But the thing that really ties it together is the use of the bass drum. And when you combine that with the snare drum as well, you just get a really wholesome kind of thick blend of all these different rhythms. So there we go, a relatively short piece. I hope I've kind of displayed enough interesting things within Chamber Strings. If you haven't already got it, I would highly, highly recommend it. And that's not just as someone who works for Spitfire, someone who bought this library back when it came out. I just absolutely love this thing. Thank you so much for watching. Click thumbs up if you enjoyed this video and subscribe if you haven't done already. Loads of really exciting things coming soon. And if you want to be notified the next time we put a video up, just hit that little bell icon. See you again very, very soon. Goodbye.